Just in tonight, Democrats have flipped a state House seat that covers parts of Clark and Oconee counties. The vote to fill a vacancy after State Representative Marcus Wiedauer resigned to focus more on his business. Well, according to the Secretary of State's office, Democrat Eric Gisler is the apparent winner tonight over Republican McDutch Guest. The gap, just 197 votes. Now, in last year's election, Wiedauer, the Republican, won with about 61% of the vote.
Oh, that's gonna hurt! Eileen!
When a 3-decade Republican stronghold is dismantled on your watch, then it may be time to hit the panic button, Donald. Yeah, Trump is in a complete panic as the one thing that he hates even more than windmills, facts, or being told, sir, that's not actually how the Constitution works, came to fruition. And that is losing elections in places that he has performed well in the past and he thought were in the bag. Because this week, in 2 separate places, Miami, Florida, and a deep red corner of Georgia, voters looked at Trump's candidates and just went, nah, we're good. And the results speak for themselves. They were bad for Donald, not for democracy. Democracy had a pretty nice little week, to be fair.
It's surprising because the last time a Democrat held the office of mayor of Miami was back during the era of The Birdcage, which was a great film in the late 1990s. One of my favorites. Huge shift towards Donald Trump. This was in Miami, Joe Biden had carried Miami by nearly 20 points and Harris only won it by 1. And all of a sudden, look at this. It's a 19-point win for Higgins. That is an 18-point shift.
Now let's start in Miami. On Tuesday, Eileen Higgins, a Democrat and former Miami-Dade County Commissioner, won the runoff and became Miami's first Democratic mayor since the 1990s, and also, notably, the first woman ever elected to the job. So for nearly 3 decades, Republicans held Miami City Hall. That is 28 years of Republican mayors, longer than some of the voters have been alive. But despite that, Higgins beat a Trump-backed Republican Emilio Gonzalez by almost 20 points, taking about 59% of the vote in the runoff. And as I mentioned, this wasn't just any Republican, right? Gonzalez was endorsed by Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, whose brand of politics, like, say, waging war on Disney, doesn't seem to have the same effect these days. Who would have thought picking fights with Mickey Mouse doesn't matter as much when people's wallets are light?
It was overtime. My kids' daycare went up. Can't afford the cost of food. Using credit cards for everyday expenses. No money left after their bills are paid. Pretty much just a whole bunch of financial mess.
We changed presidents at the beginning of the year.
We did.
And the guy who moved into the White House said that he was going to fix it. Several times he said it would be easy.
Absolutely.
Has he fixed it?
Absolutely not. I'm definitely waiting for him to fix it.
Jones is a 3-time Trump voter, but she says he has simply failed to keep his promise to lower the cost of living.
I'm very let down by that. Very, very let down because I feel like it's only gotten worse.
Now, it's worth noting that Miami's mayor race is considered non-partisan, right? And I'm just sticking to one beer this Christmas. Now, in reality, both parties poured money and attention into it. In Higgins, she ran on things like affordable housing, fixing city services and corruption scandals, and standing up to harsh Trump-style immigration policies, including a notorious detention facility nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz in the Everglades. In fact, one analyst described this win as a, quote, seismic shift and a backlash to Trump-aligned politics, pointing out that Miami has now reset its political landscape in a way that we haven't seen in almost 30 years.
That is what I think is so important going on here. We've seen it in special elections. We saw it in Virginia Gov. We saw it in New Jersey Gov. We have seen it across the political map, whereby over and over and over again, the baseline from 2024, Democrats are consistently outperforming it 10, 15, nearly 20 points in this case.
Well, put this into more context of what you're talking about, into kind of the broader trend that we're seeing across the country in races.
Yeah, okay. So I think if you know anything about Miami, you know it's heavily Hispanic, heavily Latino. And what we have seen is that Latinos have absolutely gone up and said, you know what? I don't like what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, just look at Donald Trump's net approval among Latinos. In February, it was -2 points. Not too hot to trot, but not that bad either. Look at where it is now. -38 points. That is a shift of 36 points in the wrong direction. the completely wrong direction for Donald Trump. And what the race in Miami illustrates, I was looking at the localities, locality by locality by locality. What you see is these huge shifts in these heavily Hispanic neighborhoods of Miami against the Republican nominee from the Donald Trump baseline. And so to me, this is an encapsulation of what we see. We saw it in Arizona's 7th congressional district, right? That special election earlier this year. Again, a heavily Hispanic district. What we see is Democrats outperforming that 2024 baseline, which to me is so important because we see these national polls. You wonder, how is this actually going to impact things? And what we see is exactly what we saw last night. The first Democratic mayor of the great city of Miami since the birdcage era.
Sticking with the South, let's talk about Georgia's House District special election. This is a Northeast Georgia district near Athens that Donald Trump won by about 12 points in 2024, and where the previous Republican representative beat the Democrats 61% to 39% in the past. This is not a purple territory by all means, but yet Tuesday, Democrat Eric Gisler, a tech executive and small business owner, won the special election, flipping the seat from red to blue.
Just in tonight, Democrats have flipped a state House seat that covers parts of Clark and Oconee counties. The vote to fill a vacancy after State Representative Marcus Wiedauer resigned to focus more on his business. Well, according to the Secretary of State's office, Democrat Eric Gisler is the apparent winner tonight over Republican MeidasTouch Guest. The gap, just 197 votes. Now, in last year's election, Wiedauer, the Republican, won with about 61% of the vote.
Now, don't get it twisted. It was very close, but just remember, this is a district that Trump won by 12 points. I mean, as a result, the GOP are in complete disarray. Meanwhile, their fearless leader, well, he's just saying, what about the Democrats, instead of paying attention to the fire inside his own house?
And I just have a quick question. There's at least 20 House Republicans who have either said they're going to retire or not run again. Do you have any
Democrats
concerns
also.
about the
And Democrats
right.
also.
Do you have any?
Well, why don't you mention them? How many Democrats are going to retire? How many Democrats?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
But why don't you tell me the number of Democrats too? You tell me about.
Are you concerned about the narrow margins? And
no, I'm not concerned. I think we're going to do well.
Among them, and
we will have the greatest economy.
Blakeman, who you know as well, is considering running for governor.
We're going to have the greatest economy in history. How many Democrats are retiring? How come you only know the Republicans but not the Democrats?
Because I came prepared to ask you a question about.
No, you're unprepared because you should know the Democrats. You're totally unprepared. Go ahead.
Well, can I ask a quick follow-up about?
Who are you with?
I'm with New York Newsday, and I also have.
It doesn't matter. I mean, this is a two-party town. People are going to show up and they're going to vote either for Donald Trump's party or for the people who are running in opposition. You say we don't have a leader of the party, and I thought Eric Swalwell missed opportunity. Mikey Sherrill is the leader of the party. Abigail Spanberger is the leader of the party. And we do have a message. It's affordability, however it shows up in your state or your district. So in New Jersey, you're talking about energy costs. In Virginia, you're talking about building more affordable housing and cutting red tape. And you are seeing this, and props to you guys actually for being so reasonable about this, because sometimes you feel like Republicans don't want to admit that there are any problems. Another shout out to my colleague who isn't here. But you see people like
Laura Ingraham last night.
I literally, the midterms look ugly right now unless Republicans really get serious, from Laura Ingraham. And it's a waste of Republicans' time to worry about us. I see all these stories like Dems in disarray. 68% of Americans say their financial situation's getting worse. 65% say that Donald Trump isn't lowering their cost of living, focused elsewhere. And the Democratic lead on the generic ballot is getting into blue wave, possibly tsunami territory, because there's no plan. ACA subsidies extension, 70% approval rating. Donald Trump tries to do it. And the caucus says, actually, no, we don't want to do that. We'll just have no healthcare plan for the rest of time.
I mean, you're talking about places like Georgia and Florida. These are areas that Trump dominates in elections. But as I've continued to say, every time I get in front of the camera on this network, you cannot say it's all fake news when people are feeling the effects of your economic policy, when people's wallets are lighter and prices are going up. You just can't lie your way out of that, to the point where an area that he carried in double digits just voted to say, we'd like someone else, actually. According to the Associated Press, they described Gisler's win as part of a pattern of Democratic momentum driven by dissatisfaction with the Republican Party and most notably with Donald Trump himself.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.